like, love, or hate LeBron downplaying the rematch versus Denver?
Well, I hate it. That's my personal opinion. I'm not blaming him for it. He can't be worried about what the public thinks, what I think, what anybody thinks. He's trying to win the championship, and I respect that. But this is what LeBron James does. You know, he wants you to rely strictly on the game, right? But on far too many occasions when the theater of competition takes fold, he doesn't want to be a participant in that. Meaning that you somebody, you talking smack to him, you coming at him and what have you. He doesn't feed into that. One of the reasons we loved when Lance Stevenson blew in his air legs and Windy is because we knew that obviously he was the superior player. He was playing on a superior team. The Indiana Pacers were trying to antagonize him, and we knew that LeBron James was going to respond to it. We could just tell, and we were good with that. In this particular instance, it's a different animal. You ain't the Giant, okay? You're supposed to be the Giant Slayer. The Giants are the Denver Nuggets, the reigning defending NBA champions, who, by the way, swept you last year. 4 straight in the Western Conference Finals, who, by the way, have beaten you 8 straight. And, oh, by the way, the last 3 times y'all played against one another in this season, okay, opening night, it was their ring ceremony, so they watched it. They let you watch them get their rings. Then they went out there and took you out. The second go-round, they took you out when Kobe's statue was unveiled. And the third time they took you out was when LeBron James dropped 40,000 points for his career. Okay, those are the 3 nights that the Lakers obviously were looking forward to celebrating, and it was ruined by the Denver Nuggets. So you would think that when you've got that going up against you, you raise up and you're like, yeah, I need to take this personal. Nothing else has worked. Being calm hasn't worked. Being even keel hasn't worked. Just preparing myself as I always do hasn't worked. Something or the normal procedures that works against everybody else hasn't worked for me against this particular squad, the Denver Nuggets. And still, we hear what LeBron James says. So again, I understand it. You understand? He's the player, not me, and he can't be worried about what other people are thinking. But if you're a spectator, it does raise the ante a bit if you listen to LeBron James like, they done whipped our ass about 8 straight times. I'm sick of these dudes. I want this bad, and I hope that we're ready. It would have been nice to hear the quote-unquote king embrace that kind of competition like kings are supposed to do.
Well, look, Stephen A., look, everybody knows I'm far from any sort of LeBron apologist or anything like that. In fact, people that love LeBron think it's the other way. I pride myself on not having an agenda. Just come out, give my honest opinion. Here's the thing. When I first heard it, and then I read it again, because I want to make sure I got it all, because sometimes I look for little subtle things in something somebody might say. I thought, you know what, this isn't that bad. This is nothing inflammatory where I'm going to go in on him to think he was coming off soft or weak in this matchup, and I wanted to hear more about it. I really didn't think there was much to it, and here's why. Bottom line is they didn't know they were going to get Denver. So it's easy to sit here and say, hey, man, they swept us last year. This is the team. We should be thinking about them all year. The bottom line is the Lakers were trying to survive. They were just trying to get into the play-in, survive the play-in. We didn't know they were going to get Denver until right the last couple of days of the season. Now the matchup is here, okay? So now you know you're going to get the Nuggets. So could he have said something, Stephen A., along the lines of what you're intimating? Yeah, it probably would have been better to hear words like confident. We're confident this time around. Refer to what's happened here in recent history. Nothing wrong with referring to getting swept last year. Hey, man, they swept us last year. Like, we remember that. We're confident this time around. Say things like, we know you got to go through this team to come out of the Western Conference. They are on top of the mountain right now. So we're going to get them now. Let's get them now. Like things like that, I think, is what you're saying. I completely agree. That kind of gives an air of, we know we're going into this against a top team. You give them their due respect, but at the same time, you portray an air of confidence that you think things are going to be different this time around. I think that's what you're saying, and I would agree with you on that. And let me ask you guys both something. Do you think part of the reason that LeBron can't go more in is because, man, the Nuggets are a bunch of good dudes. They don't have a Lance Stevenson. They don't have a dude that's poking LeBron James and talking to him. They don't have a Dylan Brooks. They don't have a guy like that. It's just a bunch of good dudes, including their best player. They're just quiet. They're not arrogant. They show up and do their business and almost feel like something like that injected into this might give the Lakers a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of that of what you're talking about, Stephen A., that would come out of LeBron's mouth?
Legs, I don't find Jamal Murray to be quiet. I mean, that brother talk now. I mean, he go out and back it up, but when he giving it to you, he giving it to you, and he lets you know he's giving it to you. I've seen him do that to the Lakers. Am I right, Wendy?
Yeah, and Aaron Gordon does it, and Michael Malone is not afraid to talk trash. I would have found it more entertaining for LeBron to do a little WWE action here and, really gotten into it and said, sort of embraced being the underdog and, talked about how, they expect to beat us. Well, they got to come do it and everything. But the thing about it is he's not comfortable being an underdog. It's not something he's done very often in his career, and he really doesn't like it when a team has his number. I mean, he's changed teams in the past a couple of times when he's felt another team has his number. When the Celtics had his number, he went to Miami. When the Warriors had his number, he went to LA. The Nuggets have had the Lakers' number. What's his move? He doesn't really have a move, and that's why I think he's playing it a little bit meek. Look, he's 15-1 in his career in first-round playoff series. I'm going to say that again. He's 15-1 when he's made it into the first round of the playoffs. He has owned that round. He is not used to having the idea of being underdog. Even last year, when they went into that series with Memphis, they had a lot of confidence in that series. You could see by the way they approached it. That is clearly not the case here. You can tell by those comments LeBron does not want to build it up. Stephen A., you came on this show yesterday and built this up as a possible legacy-defining opportunity for LeBron. Pull this upset, and it's a feather in that cap.
What's on the line for KD versus Minnesota?
Well, I think that, if we're going to talk about, listen, LeBron's legacy is etched in stone. 4 championships, 4 league MVPs, and in his 21st season, approaching 40 years of age, look at how he's looked on the basketball court. Kevin Durant's a few years younger, averaged over 27 a game, has looked spectacular this year, but Kevin Durant has a different story, guys. He hasn't been out of the second round since departing from Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. That's an entirely different animal. That's an entirely different narrative that we have to be talking about here. Someone that great that has had Kyrie Irving and James Harden as his teammates, that now has Devin Booker and Bradley Beal as his teammates, that once had Russell Westbrook and others as his teammates. I mean, since you departed from Steph Curry and Golden State after claiming that you wanted to go there to begin with because you just wanted to play the right way, you just want to hoop, that's all you cared about, well, you were in a pristine situation where you'd still be winning championships if you had stayed there, but you passed that up. It's been a long, long time since Kevin Durant has been in the conference finals. And I'm telling you right now, you can't be in this situation and go out there and lose in the first round. If that happens, that is not good. There's no question about it. And it's not an accident that as great as he is, as marvelous of a player as he is, we don't talk about him nearly as much as we should. And we damn sure don't talk about him nearly as much as we used to because the results haven't been there. And the thing about it that's really, really alarming is that you get the impression, no matter how LeBron tries to downplay stuff, that LeBron wants to be talked about. LeBron wants to be to the center of attention. He wants to be that dude that is the marquee. And whereas when you look at Kevin Durant in Phoenix, I don't know this to be true, but it definitely looks a certain way. It almost looks like the less we talk about him, the happier he is. He just wants to fly under the radar and hoop. But in the end, guess what? You know what? This is the surefire best way for us not to talk about you. If your ass is at home when it really, really counts because somebody bounced you out of there. And that has been the case for him since he's departed from Golden State. I don't blame him for the series against Milwaukee when Kyrie got hurt because I thought they could have won it all then. And Kevin Durant was absolutely sensational. But other than that, it's been rough. There's no way around it.
Stephen A., you and I have been here before. This is one of those triggering conversations where you and I are just never going to see eye to eye.
Okay.
Because I don't think Kevin Durant needs anything else in his career. Does he want it? Do we want it? Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't go to Brooklyn unless he wanted it, but he's a 2-time Finals MVP, and I absolutely, and here I've said this before, and here we go, I absolutely reject the premise on its face that the Warriors win, especially the 17 title without him. The idea that he wasn't a driver in that is just absolutely patently unfair to him.
Who said that?
The MVP of the finals. Many
Who said
people
that? Nobody,
said that. Not you,
nobody,
I agree. Not
okay,
you.
yeah.
Other colleagues in our industry have downplayed that final.
I know he's the best
just
player
won't
on that
stand
team.
for it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Also, his performance in the 2021 Olympics, I know it's not the NBA. He won us a gold medal. Ask Greg Popovich, ask Devin Booker, ask the other guys there. He won us a gold medal. And in between getting to those finals and now, he tore his Achilles tendon. He is the biggest success story coming off an Achilles tendon in history. Now, I still to this day don't understand why he chose, with the menu of options that he had, I don't understand why he chose to go to Brooklyn with Kyrie. I thought it was a mistake the day he did it. It ended up being a mistake. And I would love to know how he really feels sitting there in Phoenix this year where they've had a disappointing season, watching Kyrie over in Dallas play every game, be on his best behavior, be an absolutely picture-perfect cohort and teammate to Luka Doncic, and that team flying high. I wonder what he thinks about Kyrie playing that way in Dallas when that's what he could have been in Brooklyn, but that's all off the table. Right now, I don't think Durant needs anything in his career. I think if he doesn't play another game, and by the way, he's going to play for Team USA again this year and try to win a 4th gold medal. He is already the greatest Team USA performer in our history, and I think that should count on his resume because it's hard to win those Olympics. We don't give him credit for how hard it is and how great he was in that. That's, to me, 2 Finals MVPs, regular season MVP, 3-time gold medalist in the Olympics, where if there was an MVP of the Olympics, he would have won it. And so I think that's relevant. I also think that the Suns are out of position. They are not as good as they needed to be. They've made some decisions, and this trio hasn't played well together. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to win 1 series, much less 3. But I'm not going to blame it all on Kevin Durant.
All right, well, listen, I disagree with you, Wendy. I lean with Stephen A on this. And here's why.
Many people do.
Well, here's why. It's very rare when a player gets into their mid-30s, and most of their career is behind them, and they're this great of a player. Usually by this time, a guy, they've clearly had the production, right? They've had all of the individual accolades you can have, and they've also won, which Durant has done. By the time you get to this point, you almost feel like, okay, there's nothing that anybody can do to bring this guy down a notch. He can only grab additional real estate in terms of how we view him historically. And when you talk about historically and legacy, I'm talking about like 15, 20 years down the road when we look at Kevin Durant's career. Very rarely is a guy in that spot. Like, take LeBron, for instance. There's nothing that can happen to LeBron James going to drag him down. Nothing to Steph Curry that happens the rest of his career is going to reduce the way we view him 15, 20 years from now looking back on his career. I think KD's that rare guy that actually they lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves when he's got that kind of talent around him. Those 2 guys and what that represents offensively and what you should be capable of doing, and you lose to a team with no collective winning experience in the playoffs in Minnesota. I know they're the 3 seed. They got Anthony Edwards, and that team hasn't won anything in the postseason. And you get them in the first round, and you get knocked out. I actually do think it's the kind of thing, not a lot, but I do think it's something that detractors can use against Kevin Durant.